A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Some developments to draw attention to in the Northern Territory. This week, the Country Liberal Party has tabled a bill to amend the Anti-Discrimination Act in the Northern Territory. It was an election commitment to protect Christian schooling and freedom of speech. Nicholas Lay, the Northern Territory Director of the Australian Christian Lobbies, across some of the developments that's happening this week. Hey, Nicholas, welcome back to 2020.
Thanks for having me, Neil. A great week.
It is a great week. Hey, Nicholas, is the Northern Territory heading in a better direction this week than what it was last week, given the developments?
Yes, we are indeed. That is the feeling. It's been a great step this week in the right direction in restoring religious freedom, freedom of speech, and Christian schooling as well. So great week here.
You know, there seems to be an obvious connection, doesn't there, between what happens in faith-based schools and freedom of speech. If you can keep those faith-based schools with the freedom to be able to send your children there without government interference, there's something in the freedom of speech issue that really is demonstrated strongly, isn't it?
Yes, it's an important part. Raising our children to know Christ and in the Bible and Scripture and His ways is so important. And so when you see that attacked, it is an attack on our freedom as parents and as teachers to raise children in a Islamic way.
What is this saying about Leah Finocchiaro and the Country Liberal Party following through on a commitment they made before the last election?
Yes, it's excellent. So I guess to give a bit of a background for listeners, in 2022, we were at Parliament along with hundreds of other people peacefully protesting against the amendments that were made to the Anti-Discrimination Act. And these amendments, removed protections for Christian schools to be able to hire teachers of faith, and also it brought in these offence-based laws. Now, Leah heard those cries, and she committed at that time to repeal these if they got into government. And this is obviously an issue that the Australian Christian Lobby has been campaigning on ever since. We took it strongly into the NT election, and those commitments were, promised through the election period. Leah Finocchiaro got into government, and then less than a year after they got into government, we're seeing this week a bill being tabled upholding this election commitment. So it's a great demonstration, I guess, of their commitment to this issue, and it's a very welcoming bill to see in Parliament. And, it's not passed yet. It can't pass until later this year. It needs to sit for some time. But we have every expectation that it will pass. Lord willing, it will pass. And, it is a great step in restoring this freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and protections for Christian schools.
Hey, I can hear you like the bill, but there are some amendments that you would still like to see. What is the amendment or two that you'd like to see really just to make this just assuring some level of freedoms here?
Yeah, so like I said, it's a great step in the right direction, really turning the ship around in the NT on these issues. We will suggest some amendments just to really, for example, around the Christian schooling, we'd just like to tighten up some of the wording around that to really make that airtight, to make sure that there won't be cases that can slip through challenging these things, but particularly around the vilification stuff. In the NT before 2022, we had no vilification laws here. Labor brought that in 2022, and we were calling for a complete repeal of that section. The CLP have, I guess, not gone as hard as that. They've hide the bar of standard with vilification law. So previously it was using the word offence. So if someone was offended at something you said in public and it was based on a protected attribute, you could go to the Anti-Discrimination Commissioner and then the courts. And so now the CLP have indicated in this bill that they would return to wording such as incite hatred, serious contempt, or severe ridicule. So these are higher standards than just the word offence, obviously. But so like I said, it's a step in the right direction.
Nicholas, words are important, aren't they? Because words can be weaponised in the wrong hands. And I'm talking about activists who would like to see Christian freedom of speech diminish.
Yes, that's correct. And, we see, this is a step in the right direction for the NT moving to severe ridicule. But we do see, although this is a higher standard, a higher bar to prove in the courts and through the Anti-Discrimination Commissioner, these words have been used to attack people of faith, people of conscience, and we see severe ridicule and the others in the Queensland laws. And we've had plenty of examples of people being brought before the Anti-Discrimination Commissioner under these exact words. A good example is Jasmine Sussex, who is a breastfeeding expert. And she was responding to a biological man, breastfeeding a newborn child, or attempting to. And Jasmine said that as a professional, men can't breastfeed. And she has been brought before the Anti-Discrimination Commissioner and is defending herself there. So although these words are a higher standard, a higher bar, they still can be weaponised against people of faith and freedom of speech and religion.
So even though the words sound good in the legislation, these can be weaponised by activists. Now, just quickly on any of this sort of legislation, I mean, there's a certain sense in which I know you believe that all the vilification laws seem to be fundamentally flawed and they need to be thrown out altogether. Would that solve the problem, do you think?
I think so. I think the vilification laws that we have are an attempt to stop people, I guess, treating others poorly. So if that's the standard, you would think the laws would stop that. But it's my opinion that this hasn't actually stopped it. And what it's actually causing is those unintended consequences of laws. The unintended consequences being people of faith, sharing their reasonable, biblically based views in the public square, and they're being attacked and thrown before the courts because of them. So when that's your aim and you're having these unattended consequences and not much results, I think that's fundamentally flawed. And so my advice would be to all governments in Australia to completely remove vilification laws and rethink how to address this issue, because the vilification laws that we have seen across Australia, people are getting caught up in them, having to defend themselves in courts, use lots of resources, money, time, defending themselves and often losing their jobs as well. So we need to rethink these vilification laws altogether.
Well, challenging around laws in all the states and territories potentially, but let's not lose sight of the fact that at the start of our conversation, we were talking good news, and there is good news for the Northern Territory because there's an election commitment that is being fulfilled, and Christian schooling and freedom of speech is at the centre of some of these developments around what the Finocchiaro government has done, the Country Liberal Party in the Northern Territory. Hey, great getting your insights, Nicholas Lay. Nicholas is the Northern Territory Director of the Australian Christian Lobby. You can connect with Nicholas at the ACL website, acl.org.au. Nicholas, thanks so much for updating us, and it is always good to share a bit of good news. Thanks so much for those thoughts today on 2020.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. And it has been a great week. I've been beaming in Darwin Parliament this week. So thanks for having me and thanks for letting me share about it.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.